Hi, my name is Bibek Adhikari. I am a English instructor. In today's class, we are going to solve the grammar portion of Unit 13, that is the habitual past. So let's begin. Alright, so let's start with the grammar portion of Unit 13, which is called the habitual past. In this section, we shall be studying about three things. The first one is the use of used to plus V1, the use of would plus V1, and finally the use of past simple tense. Alright, so before that, let's study a paragraph and find out how habitual past is used in practical scenario. I stayed with my uncle for 5 years. In my uncle's house, I used to start my daily task in the morning. I used to go to the tap to fetch water with my aunt. I used to cut grass for cows and buffaloes. Despite work at home, I used to work hard to get the first position in my class. Although my school was not well equipped, my school teachers used to use local materials to make their classes effective. They would encourage us with their friendly and unbiased treatment in the class. Our English teacher used to give us project work. It really helped us in our study. So what different words did we find here? The words that denote to the use of habitual past. The first one is this one, which is also known as simple past tense. The second one is this one, used to. I guess the third one is this one, would. So we found three different kinds of structures, right? Since we are talking about past habit, we should also know that we're dealing with three different structures. The first one is used to, second one is would, and third one is past simple. So we shall study about these three aspects. Past habit, used to, would, and past simple. When we talk about things that happened in the past but don't happen anymore, we can do it in different ways. The first way of doing that is by using used to. We can say something like this. We used to live in Butwal when I was a kid. So this means we no longer live in Butwal, right? So when I was a kid, we used to live in Butwal. We can also say something like this. There didn't used to be a petrol station. When was it built? So there didn't used to be a petrol station. When was it built? You see, we can use used to talk about the past state. For example, I used to go to swimming every Saturday when I was at school. So this means you're no longer in school and you no longer go to swimming. This is something you used to do in the past. Another example could be something like this. I used to smoke, but I gave up a few years ago. That means you no longer smoke because you gave up a few years ago. So used to means something, you used to do back in the time. We can also use, used to talk about repeated past actions. What kind of past actions? Repeated past actions. Remember that used to is only for past states or actions that don't happen now. We can't use it for things that still happen now. Also, used to plus infinitive should not be confused with be or get used to plus ing form. This is covered in a separate section, So this should not be confused with this. So this is something different. For now, just remember that this is something different, and if you want to learn more about it, you can research on it. So do not get confused between these two structures. We are now dealing with used to plus bare infinitive or base verb, also known as V1. We are now studying this one. Alright, now let's go to the second structure that we shall be dealing with, and it is would. We're going to use would when we talk about past actions. You can say something like this. Every Saturday, I would go on a long bike ride. You can say something like this. My teachers would say, sit down and shut up. Imagine your teachers. All right, every Saturday I would go on a long bike ride. My teachers would say, sit down and shut up. So we can use would to talk about repeated past actions. So whenever we are talking about repeated past actions, we use would. Often either would or used to is possible. Both of these sentences are possible. You see, you can say every Saturday I would go on a long bike ride. Or you can simply say every Saturday I used to go on a long bike ride. However, only used to is possible when we talk about past states. We're not now talking about past states. We're talking about repeated past actions. So whenever we talk about repeated past actions, we can use any of the following structures. We can use used to or we can use would. And after would, we use V1 or the base infinitive, right? So we use V1 or the base verb after would. So it's simply would plus base verb. All right. We used to live in Butwal when I was a kid. Remember this sentence? Now let me write this in a different way. We would live in Butwal when I was a kid. Now compare these two sentences. The first one we used to. We used to live in Butwal when I was a kid. We would live in Butwal when I was a kid. Since we are talking about past, we use used to, but we cannot use would in this sentence because we are not talking about past repeated actions. We're not talking about past repeated actions. That's why we cannot use something like we would live in Butwal when I was a kid. That's simply wrong because we have to use used to because we are talking about past. We are not talking about past repeated actions. Does this make any sense? It does, right? We can also say something like we went or we used to or we would go to the same riverbank every Saturday. So this is about using past simple now, the third one of our topic. So we are now dealing with past simple. We went is past simple. We've already studied about used to and would. We can say it in either ways. We can say something like we went to the same riverbank every Saturday. We used to go to the same riverbank every Saturday. Or we would go to the same riverbank every Saturday. All of these sentences are correct. We can use the past simple in the same way used to and would to talk about repeated past action. You can say something like this. I had or I used to have a dog called Coco. So I used to have a dog called Coco or I had a dog called Coco. We can use past simple tense when we talk about past repeated actions. All right? So let's summarize. Whenever we are talking about habitual past, that means we are talking about past habitual aspect or past repetitive aspect. So whenever we are talking about habitual past, we are talking about one aspect of verb that is used to refer to repeated events in the past. So this is what we call the aspect, the verb aspect. So we are talking about verb aspect when we are talking about habitual past. The habitual past is indicated most frequently by the semi-auxiliary verb used to, the auxiliary would, or the simple past of a verb. Alright, you know this already. We have already studied this. So we use used to, would, and past simple whenever we are talking about the habitual past. This is the summary of today's class. Now let me give you some homework. Your homework would be this. Write some sentences about your childhood using used to and would. Can you do this? So this is your homework, pretty easy. All you have to do is write some sentences about your childhood using used to and would. And also you can use the past simple tense. Alright, that's your homework. With this, we have come to end of today's class. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding this video series, feel free to write us at learning@deerwalk.edu.np. Thank you.